Barack Obama is saying he will be personally insulted if black voters don't show up at a polling place on November 8th to vote for Hillary Clinton.
I will consider it a personal insult, an insult to my legacy.
He sounded pretty revved up about it.
Go vote!
But I don't think he's gonna know whether you vote or not, even though he does give off an omniscient vibe, and he did expand mass government surveillance as president. Regardless, if you're black and you don't plan on casting your ballot for Hillary come November, you may want to consider the psychic implications of contributing to a charismatic man's disappointment. That guy, Ahmad, is scoring a lot of headlines for obvious reasons. One being that we as humans gobble up news about threats to our safety and security. Trump knows this as well as anybody, and according to Vanity Fair, he might actually be considering leveraging his campaign support base into a news media platform, which makes me tired to think about. Back in December, Trump said we need to take out the families of terrorists. Now, killing families is bad for a few reasons, but for this countdown installment, I'll focus on its counterproductivity. Killing families tends to radicalize people who might have led harmless lives otherwise. Michael Hayden, who used to be the head of the CIA and the NSA, has said that Trump is playing into the jihadist narrative of the West versus Islam, and that he's giving ISIS good material for their recruitment videos. I don't doubt it. I mean, Trump is a living, breathing material factory, and he makes for a great over-the-top emperor villain for the radicalized nerds around the world. While his son was getting reamed for likening Syrian refugees to Skittles, Trump was going through the motions and acknowledging the situations, as he calls them, in Tulsa and Charlotte, encouraging us to come together to make America safe again. So he recycled that one. I'm sure the idea of making America safe again sounds great to old white people living in gated communities around the country, but some Americans aren't too sure when they were ever quote-unquote safe. I'm going to edit Trump's tweet by crossing out America and replacing it with black people, then crossing out again, because being black in America only gets more dangerous the further you go back in time. Then I'll add an R to make it safer, because total safety isn't attainable for anyone. Okay, there we go. We must come together to make black people safer. And then we can go ahead and attribute that to someone else entirely. Well said, JB. So as you may know, Russia is interfering with our presidential election this year, and Trump supports Russia's foreign policy interests with rhetoric that is already having a tangible effect on world affairs. Trump's claim that Obama created ISIS is big news in Russia's state-controlled media, and our traditional allies in Europe are getting pretty nervous about Trump's talking points on NATO alliances. Aside from having business interests in Russia, which we can't know the extent of because he won't release his tax returns, Trump has a very loud man crush on Putin. Trump actually made up a story about chumming it up with Putin in a 60 Minutes green room.
And I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes. We were stablemates. I don't think I've ever met him. I never met him. I don't think I've ever met him. You would know it if you...
Sorry, that's stinky stuff. So why is Russia being so dang spooky? Part of the reason is that Putin subscribes to the ideas of 20th century political philosopher Ivan Ilyin and undermines democracies abroad using the Gerasimov doctrine. If you didn't catch all that, don't worry about it. It's just information.
You would know it if you did. I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Dan and I had a formal meeting yesterday to discuss the Countdown franchise and growth.
I think we've outgrown Instagram and Facebook.
I'm only getting like 8 or 9 likes a pop. And he told me some pretty game-changing news, which he gave me the green light to share.
We should be on TV.
He thinks we should be on TV. Wait, how many likes are you getting?
Doesn't matter. It's a feeling. I don't need data.
Don't you think we should start with YouTube or something?
Yes.
So Dan set us up a YouTube account, and I'm not sure about the banner. It doesn't seem to represent us that well, but that's all I'm going to say on that because I don't want anybody to think that I'm throwing shade. I'm not. We should be leaving that to our presidential candidates as they prep for Monday's debate. One tracking poll suggests that 106 million people tune in to watch this first debate. Mitt and Barack had 67.2 million viewers, which is closer to the figure that Dan and I expect to regularly watch our countdown show. Ted Cruz is back in the news after 2 months of diligently searching his own conscience, and he's saying that he now supports DJT for the presidency, even though Trump dissed his wife and insinuated that his dad was involved in JFK's assassination. I gotta say, I miss not seeing Cruz in the news regularly. This may come as a surprise to some of you, but I find him to be a more compelling character study than Trump. He did eat his booger that one time.
I understand the folks who are supporting Donald right now. You're angry. You're angry at Washington, and he uses angry rhetoric.
But aside from that, his politicking is a bit more nuanced. Anyway, in other news, the bulk of 15,000 new emails authored by HRC won't be released until after the election. So if you plan on voting for Hillary, this should make it easier on your conscience, since you'll know fewer sinister things about her than you would otherwise.
He's more in this country. He
Loves this country.
Listen, when my dad was a scared teenage boy.
The Clinton campaign supposedly gave Mark Cuban a front row seat to the debate on Monday. And if you missed it, Cuban is an avid Trump antagonist on Twitter, so when Trump heard the news, he threatened to bring Jennifer Flowers to the debate. Jennifer, with a G, tweeted that she will definitely be there, and she even included a lipstick print emoji. Little background, Jennifer earned her notoriety when she made her sexual relationship with Bill Clinton public during his presidential election campaign in '92. Since then, she's played herself in TV and movies and was even a replacement in an off-Broadway show called Boobs the Musical. Bill Clinton, who is briefly mentioned in the first sentence of Jennifer's Wikipedia bio, is also likely to be there on Monday. Now I'd like to address a pretty sick burn that Dan included in his last installment.
We're not going to be on TV if his sideburns stay that long. I'm sorry.
Dan, I got 12 words for you, bud. Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester in the fantasy horror television series Supernatural. So Dan had a pretty great idea in theory. He suggested that we capitalize on this debate fervor and have our own debate. But it turns out that we're pretty... Stop. But it turns out that we're kind of aligned on all the big issues, so it wouldn't really make for good adversarial TV. Can you stop? It's not a good look. Also, when Dan started asking me personal values questions, it made me really uncomfortable. I don't really like sharing how quote-unquote progressive I am because some of my least favorite people are progressives. Yeah, you got it. The McDonald's banner represents corporate greed or whatever. I know it's lazy. I'm so tired. But yeah, we live in a corporatocracy. Am I supposed to cry about that? Is that the evolved thing to do? I mean, I'm a product of consumer culture. I grew up on Mickey D's. I registered to vote. I am voting for something. I'm probably gonna get an iPhone 7 pretty soon. It's waterproof.